Republicans urging their GOP colleagues, meanwhile, to block a procedural vote today on more than $110 billion in national security supplemental money. This is the package introduced by Democrats yesterday. The bill addressed President Biden's original funding request. Tensions were high at a classified Senate briefing on Ukraine yesterday over the ongoing back and forth and the disagreements over border policy and why the administration is insisting money goes to Ukraine first. Here's what Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer had to say about it. Watch.
If this fails because of border, that's not a bipartisan failure. That's a failure of the Republicans and the Republican leadership. The only reason they added border was because a lot of members of their hard right said they want border.
So I guess Chuck Schumer doesn't agree that the border being wide open is a national security risk. Joining us right now is Oklahoma Senator James Lankford, a member of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committees. Senator, thanks very much for being here. You're the lead Republican negotiator on the border talks. I want to get your take on what happened at the briefing. But first, I've got to question you about what Chuck Schumer thinks about the border. He thinks this is coming out of nowhere, I guess. He says that this is going to be a Republican failure if, in fact, it doesn't come to pass because of you and your colleagues pushing for border change.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable to me to hear Chuck Schumer say if this goes down, it's because Republicans want to actually close the border. The next part of that sentence, I guess, that he left out was, and Democrats do not want to close down the open border. Let me break a little news with you, Maria. Yesterday, the numbers just came out literally just minutes ago. Yesterday, there were 12,080 crossings in a single day. 12,000 crossings. That's an all-time record high. We've seen the numbers continue to be able to skyrocket. The administration literally has no ability to be able to manage the border, no willingness to be able to manage the border. And to their credit, the Biden administration actually weeks ago came out and said, we want a national security package that deals with Israel, Ukraine, the Pacific, and the border. So while Chuck Schumer is saying Democrats want nothing to do with this, the White House is quietly saying, actually, we do want to be able to have some funding to close the border. And then they immediately said the funding would just be a tourniquet. What we actually need is a change in policy. We as Republicans are actually listening to the American people to say, absolutely, if we're going to do national security, it starts with American national security.
Yeah, and it's not just Texas, right? Lukeville, Arizona, seeing the surge of mostly adult male illegal migrants from all over the world, including Middle Eastern, African countries. Customs and Border Protection closed that crossing on Monday, redirecting the agents because they had to use those agents to deal with the crisis across the state. And then we heard from some of the migrants who were crossing the border yesterday. Listen to this.
I love you, Joe Biden. Thank you for everything, Joe Biden. I'm a good person. I want to be a good person here in the United States.
I came here because I want quality life. You know, America is a land of opportunity.
Unfortunately, the land of opportunity is not doing much for those people who've already applied to become citizens and are waiting on a long line. These people are crossing over and, in fact, jumping the line, Senator. But Chuck Schumer doesn't want any change at the border, I guess.
No, it's remarkable. And let me just be very clear. When you cross the border on the southern border, those individuals are asking, quote unquote, for asylum. Asylum means I have fear in my home country and there's nowhere that I can go to get safety. Those people are saying the same thing that I hear from people over and over again when I'm at the border. I'm coming for opportunity. I'm coming for a job. I'm coming to be able to have a better life. That is not asylum. They don't qualify for asylum. But the Biden administration is not turning them around at the border and say you have to apply legally. You can't just literally cross in one day where we have no criminal background check, no information about their background or their history. Many of them, we don't even have documents. They just walk in and say what country they're from and say what their name is, and they come take on a brand new identity here in the United States. Everyone sees that as a national security risk, apparently other than Chuck Schumer.
So are we surprised that Christopher Wray yesterday testified under oath that now is the prospect of a terrorist attack on U.S. soil is at the highest he's ever seen?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. He not only said it's the highest he's ever seen, he said that there's warning lights every single direction that he's looking. Even Ali Mayorkas, the head of Homeland Security, has said the system is broken. We've got to change the asylum system from top to bottom. We've got to deal with recalcitrant countries. It literally seems like everybody is saying we've got to be able to fix this problem across the country, even now the administration, other than many of our Senate Democrats. So we've got to be able to push this through and say, let's fix this. Let's actually resolve it.
Will you stand your ground? viewers want to know if the Republicans are going to dig in here. House Speaker Mike Johnson wrote a letter to the Office of Management and Budget Director Shalonda Young yesterday, issuing an ultimatum to the Biden administration for their push for more aid for Ukraine. Johnson writes this: supplemental Ukraine funding is dependent upon enactment of transformative change to our nation's border security laws. So, Senator, the Republicans are in the minority in the Senate, a razor-thin majority in the House. Will Republicans stand together and say no to Ukraine funding unless border policy changes?
Simple answer is yes, and we'll actually prove that later on today. Chuck Schumer said he's bringing the supplemental bill from the White House today. Republicans will block that, will not allow what's called cloture for that to be able to move forward, and we will continue to demand we've got to have substantial change. That means we've got to change the way we do asylum. You can't do it years from now. You've got to be able to do it at the border. We can't lose, catch, and release. We've got to be able to actually detain folks at the border so that we can actually process people that actually qualify for asylum to be able to come in, and those that don't qualify for asylum to be able to turn them around.
So you feel you have the support within the Republican Party. You don't feel that there will be Republican senators or House members that say, no, I want to send this Ukraine aid regardless?
We have very strong support in the Senate. Obviously, this vote today will be in the Senate. I feel very strongly about where the House is.
Okay.
Everyone's been very, very clear on this to say we're standing firm. Now is the moment. We're completely out of control at our southern border. It's time to resolve this.
Senator, what are your thoughts in terms of this prospect of a terrorist attack on U.S. soil? And you heard Christopher Wray yesterday saying all the lights are blinking. Right. What should we be thinking about? I mean, do you have any information on this for us in terms of where the threat is?
Yeah, let me just give you a couple things. Obviously, the 9/11 terrorists were all illegally present in the United States, so this is not just some arbitrary risk on it. In the last 2 years, this White House has had 70,000 people they have designated as special interest aliens. These are individuals that are coming from Iran, from Iraq, from Pakistan, from areas of known terrorism that have been released into the country, literally unscreened, except are their names listed on our terror watch list. Otherwise, we have no criminal background history on them, have no idea. Those were released in the country, 70,000 just in the last 2 years. We've had almost 300 people that were picked up that were on the terror watch list just in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So the threat is very real on this, and we should take it seriously.
What about all these Chinese nationals coming in? We saw pictures of them. They all look like they're in collared shirts and suits and, military-aged men. What's that about?
Yep, we do. The vast majority of individuals that are crossing our border are military-aged men. We've had 20,000 Chinese nationals that have crossed through just in the last few months. We have many individuals in my own state, in Oklahoma, that are being arrested right now that are working in illegal drug operations, that it's Chinese criminal organizations partnering with Mexican cartels to be able to actually do drug trafficking here in the United States. So we know those individuals. We also know that they illegally crossed the border just in the last couple of years. So we're seeing this pattern where the Chinese are actually sending people to us that they know are in criminal organizations and continue to be able to accelerate that process and increase the risk. Not only that, we've had Russians that have come across our border just in the last several months, and those numbers have increased dramatically.
Have we heard from the White House on this? Do they comment on why it is so many Chinese nationals are coming?
No, they've said typically it's their recalcitrant country that they're not taking their people back. And at any point, you don't turn people around. When they come across their border, you get more of those folks in the days ahead.
Yes.
So this is a cooperation between the Mexican government that's allowing them to come through, and then our own loose immigration laws right now, and this administration's lack of enforcement to be able to allow them through. Again, over 12,000 in one day just yesterday.
Unbelievable. Senator, thank you for your leadership on this subject. We're going to keep a follow on it. James Lankford joining us this morning in D.C. Thank you, sir.